If you're like most people, you probably get your health insurance through your employer. So let me ask you this. Do you really know the difference between all the health plans your company offers? Most people don't, because let's face it, health insurance is complicated, and yet choosing the wrong one could be very costly for you. So let's figure out today how to simplify the process as much as possible. By the end of this video, you'll know the difference between an HMO versus PPO plan and the one question you should ask yourself to figure out whether an HMO or a PPO might be the best suited for your financial and health circumstances. For our loyal subscribers and viewers, welcome back. We love you guys. And for those of you new to Diamond NestEgg, welcome to the #1 place to learn about money, insurance, and retirement. I'm Jennifer, first-generation American, and I've spent most of my life in finance. Started working at banks like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs at the age of 17, and graduated top of my class from NYU and Harvard Business School. And now I work on all things personal finance with young professionals and employees at places like Bloomberg, WeWork, and Marsh McLennan. So, HMO stands for Health Maintenance Organization, and PPO stands for Preferred Provider Organization. Both are employer-sponsored health plans that you can choose either during open enrollment, typically November of each year, or during qualifying life events such as marriage, birth of a child, divorce, or when you're too old to qualify for your parents' health insurance, which generally happens when you turn 26. There are, however, significant differences between an HMO and a PPO, and understanding these differences will help you decide which one might be better for you. In a nutshell, when choosing between an HMO and PPO, the trade-off you're making is between flexibility and cost. HMOs are less flexible, but also less expensive, whereas PPOs are more flexible, but also more expensive. First, let's talk about flexibility. The way that an HMO works is that it contracts with doctors, hospitals, pharmacies, and other healthcare professionals, what's known as the HMO provider network. This network provides you healthcare and services, and you must use the doctors, hospitals, pharmacies, and other healthcare professionals within this HMO network. Non-emergency visits to healthcare professionals outside of the HMO network are not covered, meaning you would have to pay for the full cost of any out-of-network care or services. Emergency visits out of network, on the other hand, are covered under an HMO. But even here, you have to be careful because each HMO has a different definition of what qualifies as an emergency. With a PPO, you're much less restricted. You can see any doctor you want, regardless of whether that doctor is within the PPO network or not. Just keep in mind that you will pay more for doctors that are outside of the PPO network than you would for doctors that are within the PPO network. So for example, with an in-network doctor, your PPO plan might pay 80% and you would pay 20%. And with an out-of-network doctor, your PPO plan might just pay 60% and you would have to pay 40%. Compare this to an HMO though, where you'd have to shell out the full 100% for any out-of-network doctor because the HMO would pay nothing at all. Another minus point for an HMO in terms of flexibility, in our opinion, is that you have to choose a primary care physician, a PCP, who is within the HMO network. Your primary care physician, your PCP, as the name suggests, is the first person you go to with any health concerns. Now, some folks don't view this as a minus because having a primary care physician, from their perspective, having a PCP means that they have one doctor that understands and manages all their healthcare needs for them. They have one go-to person for all their medical concerns, which can be a plus for some folks. So what's our issue with the HMO's PCP? Well, it's this. With the exception of specific preventative care, such as annual physicals and mammogram screenings, your PCP has to give you a referral for all specialist visits. So for example, let's say that I woke up with an ugly rash on my arm one morning, or worse, on my face. Not that this is a true story that happened to me in my younger days, but let's just say it did. If I were with an HMO, I would have to schedule an appointment first with my PCP, go see him or her, and at my visit, it would be up to my PCP to decide whether or not to refer me onwards to an in-network dermatologist, or perhaps to an in-network hospital, let's say if my rash were to be highly contagious. With a PPO, I could have just called up any dermatologist I wanted, and they check out the rash and cure that ugly thing right away. No referral needed. Seeing a specialist under a PPO is simple and hassle-free. So, with the restriction to in-network doctors, the requirement of a PCP, and the need for referrals to specialists, why would someone choose an HMO over a PPO? Well, because what an HMO loses in flexibility, it makes up for in terms of cost savings. An HMO is generally less expensive. It usually only contracts with a smaller group of medical providers than a PPO, meaning that the HMO is better able to manage its costs and pass on health savings to you. According to healthmarkets.com, the average monthly premium in 2021 for an HMO is $427 versus $517 for a PPO, so about $90 less for an HMO every month. Another plus for the HMO over a PPO is a lower out-of-pocket cost. HMOs usually have no or very low annual deductibles and normal doctor copays that are fairly affordable, typically between $5 to about $25 or $30 per visit. Billing is also typically much easier with an HMO because everything is within the HMO network. You won't get hit with any surprise higher out-of-network bills months afterwards, by which time some of us might even have forgotten why we went to the doctor in the first place. Guys, if you're enjoying this video so far or have learned something new, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe diamond in the corner. This tells us we're putting the right stuff out there for you and your financial journey with us. So which plan is right for you and your family if you have one? PPO or HMO? To answer this, you actually have to answer this one question. When it comes to my health insurance, is flexibility more important or is cost more important? If flexibility is more important to you, then the PPO may be the way to go. A PPO offers the most flexibility and freedom. You don't need a primary care provider. You can see whichever doctor you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. No need for a referral. This is particularly important to consider if you have a doctor or doctors that you've been going to for years and with whom you want to stay. Now, if you travel often for work or pleasure, a PPO might also be the better choice because PPOs have a wider network of healthcare professionals across the US. Freedom of choice with a PPO comes at a price though, namely via higher deductibles and higher monthly premiums. Even after you meet your deductible, you're still responsible for paying a certain amount or percentage at each visit, what's known as the coinsurance. So your out-of-pocket costs will also be more with a PPO. And if you see a healthcare professional that's outside of the PPO network, your costs will be even higher. Take a look at this PPO versus HDHP video if you're interested in learning more about PPO deductibles, premiums, and coinsurance. This video also goes into the pros and cons of a PPO versus an HDHP, a high deductible health plan, which is another type of health insurance that many employers now offer. An HDHP is what we've had in our family for years because it's what best suits our needs. Moving on now with helping you decide between a PPO versus HMO. If keeping costs low is more important to you than flexibility, then the HMO would be the way to go because you will pay less in premiums, deductibles, and copay. The copay is the HMO equivalent of the PPO coinsurance, the amount that you have to pay out of pocket for each visit. People that choose an HMO do so primarily because it's more affordable, and they don't mind dealing with the restrictions around having a primary care provider that controls all their specialist referrals. An HMO might also make sense for you if you're in relatively good health and don't have many medical issues. Regardless of whether you're leaning towards a PPO or an HMO, if you have a specific doctor or doctors that you want to stick with, the smartest thing to do before signing up with any health plan is to contact the doctors directly or the PPO HMO provider and see if your doctor or doctors are in network. Guys, money, healthcare, your finances, this stuff isn't always straightforward. What's right for one person may not be right for another. Everyone's financial journey is different. if you want to see if we can help make everything a bit less overwhelming and give your financial journey a bigger boost than you'd be able to on your own, shoot us an email at jennifer@diamondnestegg.com. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please don't forget to give that thumbs up and the subscribe button a gentle tap. We'll be back next week with another money-saving, wealth-building video.